Another episode of your favorite podcast, Targo. Nice shirt, dude.
What is up? It's
Nice
a new one. New
shirt.
Barca.
That's sick, man. I didn't even know they came out with that.
Gotta find some Chinese website to get it, man.
They do have some good stuff. I mean, that's where I got this, because it's sold out everywhere. Anyways, rant over. Welcome to another
smaller
episode.
than usual, though.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of Brews and Banter. Today we got Matchweek 4 in the English Premier League. Last of the transfers and the winners and losers of transfer deadline day to go along with our Fab 5 games to watch. So, Targo, before we even get into that, what are you drinking, my dude?
I am drinking Level Beer. Go Hef Yourself. German style Hefeweizen. It's barn brewed in Portland, Oregon.
What a name.
Go Hef Yourself, right? It says it's traditional German style wheat beer, easy drinking with pleasant banana and clove aromatics.
Banana, huh?
Not sure if I smell the banana.
Okay.
Yep, that's a hef. Not bad.
It's just weird for me that they put banana in it, because the banana's a pretty strong taste, usually.
Not in this beer, it's not.
That's good.
I guess now the aftertaste I'm getting a little bit.
Okay. Well, that's not bad.
Would drink again.
Would? Yes?
Would.
Targo thumbs up, yeah?
Targo thumbs up.
Today, I am drinking from close to your neck of the woods, from Cle Elum, Washington, Drew Brews Feist Beer. It's that time of the year again, man. Oktoberfest beers are back. They're my favorite. We're going to get a lot of them in the next couple weeks. Let's just say. I'm very excited. I have not had this Oktoberfest yet.
Drew Brew, huh?
Yeah. You ever been to their brewery?
I have not.
Well, I guess we got to make a trip.
Yes, we should.
Yes, we should. This is a German-style rich golden lager, layers of German malt, and a charge of soft-edged hops. I would say it's pretty good. It's kind of light for an Oktoberfest, I'll be honest. But I would go 7 out of 10 would drink again.
Okay, that's probably about what I'd give this. Maybe 7.5.
Well, there you go. So
go
if
Hef
it's
yourself.
there and available, drink it again. Otherwise, if there's better choices. All
10 out of 10 on the name, though.
Yeah, 100%. I do love that name. It's pretty fantastic. So, make sure you guys are checking out our Facebook group, our Instagram, TikTok, YouTube channel. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. Make sure you're giving us 5 stars on all of your favorite social media platforms. And then make sure to check out our Redbubble. Got some pretty awesome merch in there. You should go check it out. And without further ado, let's get to it. All right. News, Targo. News.
There's lots of it.
I thought because the transfer window was over that there would be less news. There's just more news that aren't transfers, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's true. There has been a lot going on, huh?
Yeah, but we still do have news about transfers, believe it or not.
Some transfer windows are still open, so...
Yes, so to sum up the English transfer window, they spent a record £2.36 billion this summer. That's almost $500 million more than the record set last summer of $1.92 billion. With $255 million on deadline day alone. Holy crap. That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. La Liga side Getafe signed Mason Greenwood on loan from Manchester United. Could be a very good signing for them. We'll see.
Let's see if he can get his career back on track.
Yeah. And speaking of Spain and their federation of never-ending turmoil, we got lots of news. The Spanish women's national team coach, Jorge Vilda, has resigned. Spain's Liga F has announced the players will be going on strike for the first 2 match weeks. And then yesterday, Spain's Jenny Hermoso has accused Luis Rubiales of sexual assault for kissing her on the lips without consent after the World Cup final. So that's the turn that it's all taken. Any thoughts or moving on?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of spoken about it before. This thing's been in the news nonstop since the Women's World Cup final. I guess I'm curious on why they are striking the first 2 matches. I'm not sure what, I guess that really does. That would be my only question.
I think they're just trying to get Rubiales to quit.
Put pressure on the clubs to get him to quit, I guess. I don't know.
What are they going to do? He can't resign because he's been ordered to have nothing to do with football for 90 days. So he can't even call in a press conference, speak about soccer, nothing. So I agree with you. I don't know what good it does, but good for them for making a stand, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And all of them sticking together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem to be one unified message. I will give them that. Okay, staying in Spain. Sergio Ramos has finally found a new club. He had offers from Saudi Arabia, from the Premier League, from Turkey, and he re-signed with Sevilla after 18 years where he played in 2004 and 2005 for the first team.
Yeah, I saw that. It was I saw a picture that was going around. It was him and Jesus Navas started there back when they were kids. And Sergio Ramos, he's taking a huge pay cut. He got offered $20 million a year in Saudi Arabia. Then he's going to Sevilla to collect $1 million a year.
Well, I know
not all about money for some of the players.
We would do that if Arsenal offered us a contract. So honestly, I would take £1, but you got to make a living somewhere. Okay, and probably my favorite transfer deadline day move, Real Betis completed the signing of Barcelona youngster Eze Abde for 7.5 million euros. I thought this was shocking since they said they were not going to sell him.
They need money, so apparently they did.
That's true. And they did put some clauses in this one. They have a buyback clause of 20 million that's only valid for the next essentially 2 years, starting next summer. They also have a 50% sell-on clause. So they get 50% of whatever transfer fee he goes for if they don't buy him in those 2 years. So I think
it's a good chunk of a sell-on clause.
Yeah. Especially for a guy who looks to be one of the best up-and-coming players as far as from... Is it La Masia? I always pronounce it wrong. Messiah?
Something like that. Yeah, their youth academy, basically.
Yes. All right. Staying in Spain yet again. For our last piece of Spanish news, we have our first coaching casualty of the year. By Quique Setién, has been fired by Villarreal after being appointed in October of 2022 after Unai Emery left.
Yeah, I was kind of a little bit surprised. I mean, Villarreal aren't doing fantastic. They're in 15th place.
Yeah.
They got 1 win out of their 4 games they've played, so it's not the best start, but very early.
It's 4 games.
10 games?
4 games in. Give them at least a full month. Holy crap. I guess maybe they're thinking because it's the international break that they would give him time to replace him.
Potentially. I mean, gives them a couple weeks.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me this soon, especially the way they finished last season.
Unless they got a coach lined up already that they want to bring in.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth did that.
Yes,
So,
they did.
Yeah, it's not
Wolves
a bad shout.
did it.
Yeah.
You
Wolves,
kind of think last year with Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter.
Yeah. Or Julian Nagelsmann and Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah. So they must have someone they want, would be my guess.
I guess so. So we have our official piece of comedic relief for transfers. And it comes from a Vince Tar. Marco Verratti is very close to joining Al Arabi from PSG for 45 million euros. So the reason apparently that it took so long for him to get the deal to where it is now.
Oh, I heard about this. Something about a fake agent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Apparently an agent who was not representing him has been in negotiations with teams around Europe and Saudi Arabia and Qatar for him. And they thought they were actually speaking to his agent.
Hilarious. But it looks like he's going to Qatar.
Yeah. For a guy that is of his ilk and caliber and has had such a good career, you would think that people would be able to sniff that out. I'm just saying.
Apparently, maybe this guy does need to become an agent. Could have been getting good deals for him.
Yeah, right? Shoot.
That's hilarious, though.
Yeah. Another done deal. Al Etifak and Steven Gerrard have signed Everton winger Damari Gray for £8 million. Yet another player that Everton didn't need to lose, but did anyways.
Oh, Everton. We'll talk about their transfers later.
Yeah, it's bad. Tottenham shipping out some dead wood. We got Tunga and Ndombele and Davinson Sanchez both joined Galatasaray. Ndombele on a season-long loan and Davinson Sanchez on permanent transfer for 9.5 million euros. Manchester United's Eric Bailly has signed for Besiktas on a free transfer, so they let him go for free. I guess he wasn't playing and they needed his wages off the books, so good deal for both parties. And now we're going to get to our never-ending stream of Manchester United news.
Yeah, Man United.
Yay. After news that the Glazers would not be selling the club, their stock prices dropped 20%.
Half of 600 million, I think it was.
550 million pounds.
Crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that because this is in addition to the 1.5 billion pounds in losses in transfer dealings since 2014. In comparison, Chelsea have 1.03 billion in losses, and they just spent $1 billion.
I mean, they spent that billion over a year, but
this is since 2014.
Yeah, so. And then United, man, they had like all the players they've sold have not been for very big fees at all, man. And then they go and spend a lot of money on Onana.
A lot of money. A lot of players. Yeah. I mean, going back to last season.
Saying his name wrong on purpose. But.
Yeah. That's okay. It's funnier that way. And then going back to last season, you got Anthony. You got James Sancho the year before.
Casemiro wasn't cheap.
Yeah. There's lots of money thrown at players. Not going to... I mean, Mason Mount, too. He hasn't even really played that much.
Oh, he got injured, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like, you think of how much money they've sold. Like, think of players that have left. Haven't been for very big fees.
Now,
I'm trying to think of one at the top of my head, man. I can't. I'd have to look it up.
No. I can't. Yeah. I mean, they've been trying to get rid of players for forever. David De Gea left for free. Cristiano Ronaldo left for free. All right. On to the next bit of news. The ex-girlfriend of Antony has come out with even more accusations against the Manchester United winger as of Monday. On top of the original allegations from June, He has since been removed from the Brazil squad for their upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Peru and Bolivia. And they say that's to protect the Brazilian Federation, the player, and the accuser until the investigation is concluded. Manchester United have declined to comment whether it would affect his squad status.
We'll see what ends up of
Honestly, if it's false, like, the Mason Greenwood stuff and all of the other players that have been affected by this, I feel bad. I really do. His performances on the field may not, may make me laugh. But this kind of stuff never needs to happen. If it is false. It is true, on the other hand. That's just not a good situation.
Going back, though, Man United as their sellings, it was Dean Henderson and Anthony Elanga for £17.5 million.
That was it. Dean Henderson was for 20, if I'm not mistaken.
And then Fred went for just under 10.
Oh, shit.
And Alex Telles left for just over 4.
So, about 60 million pounds?
If that.
Yeah, if that. They spent more on Mason Mount.
They did.
All right. Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho are currently in a very public argument over Sancho's recent form in training. Ten Hag says it's been poor, and that's why he wasn't in the squad against Arsenal. Sancho has come out on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days, saying that it wasn't because of his training performances and that there's an agenda out against it. Honestly, I don't even care what happened. What the literal fudge is going on with Manchester United right now?
Nothing good.
Jadon Sancho, if you have terrible training performances, don't come out in public and dispute that. That's something for the manager behind the scenes. And Erik ten Hag, you don't say that in public.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're 100% spot on, man. Whatever beef they have, keep it behind closed doors.
Yeah. Keep it to the manager's office and the dressing room. It doesn't leave there. It makes me think, what would happen if this happened under Sir Alex Ferguson?
Well, I mean,
you wouldn't hear anything of it.
I mean, even you've been a player. Imagine if your coach came out and said, yeah, he's playing like shit. I'm not going to play him. He's not performing well in practice. He's not trying hard. How's that make you feel? Probably not very good.
No, I'd be pissed off.
And
so I wouldn't go on to social media.
And then I can see why Sancho would come out and say that. So I place the blame solely on Ten Hag. If he's not getting the best out of his players, well, I mean, that's his job as a coach, to get the best out of your players.
Let's not forget, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. And he's had disputes with Harry Maguire, David De Gea, Cristiano Ronaldo. Just saying. Might be on to something.
And then the way they're playing and the results on the field aren't helping his case either.
No, they're not.
Which we'll talk about this weekend's game, I'm sure, in lots of detail.
Lots of detail. And I'm not going to lie, it's the last thing we'll talk about. All right. Targo, Louis van Gaal is at it again, complaining about the World Cup again.
Oh my God, let it go, Van Gaal.
Yeah. This time he's saying it was premeditated that Messi would win the World Cup. His players have since spoken out and said, I don't know what you're smoking, but you're wrong. Most notably, Virgil van Dijk. When will he just accept it and stop complaining? He lost.
I mean, they lost their first game, I guess.
Yeah. Against Saudi Arabia.
And then he had to have a Messi smoke show against Croatia, man, turning Gavardiol inside out and scoring in the World Cup final and then going to PKs, winning on PKs. Like, yes.
There was no premature anything. There was no agenda for Argentina. Lionel Messi was just that good.
Emi Martinez has to come up with a fantastic save in the time moments.
Too. Let's not forget about that one. Holy crap.
So Van Gaal's got the good stuff. That's all I can say, and he's using it.
Speaking of someone who has the good stuff and not
used to have the good stuff,
not in playing terms. Free agent Jesse Lingard, he apparently has a whole host of clubs want to sign him now that transfer window's over. I mean, Wolves, West Ham, Burnley, Sheffield United, and Everton have all inquired about his services. I guess the only question to ask here is which team would be the best fit for him, do you think?
I don't think he'd be a good fit at West Ham anymore. I don't think he'd be a good fit at Burnley.
I have two choices in my mind.
I would say Wolves or Sheffield.
I was going to go with Sheffield or Everton since they just lost Damari Gray. At this point, Everton need bodies that could potentially produce something. Because they don't got anything right now.
Same could be said about Sheffield and Wolves.
Touche. Touche,
yeah.
My friend. Well, to
I
some
think
good
we're going to end on a good note. Let's end on a good note here, man.
Good news. Jude Bellingham, man on fire, scored his fourth straight game, this time with a winner in the 95th minute as Real Madrid beat Getafe 2-1.
Guy's
man just can't stop scoring. He's making La Liga look easy.
The weight of that Real Madrid jersey is proven real light on him.
Yeah, must be that new Adidas fabric. I don't know.
But he is making the Liga look easy. I mean, did you expect this from him to come out this hot?
In a team with a midfield that good? No. Not at all.
I mean, he came in saying he was ready to learn from Modric and Kroos. They're learning from him, man.
I would go either what you said or, man, is he a quick learner?
Yeah.
Holy crap. You give him a summer to spend with Modric and Kroos, and this is what happens? What's it going to be like in 5 years?
Guy just turned 20.
I know. He's still in the running for the Golden Boy Award.
That's what's crazy.
For like the third year in a row. I don't get it. All right. On to some transfer window winners and losers, Targo. I think this is going to be fun. But before we really get into it, those of you who listen to our predictions, we're going to let you know which ones we got right. Because we don't care about what ones we got wrong. Targo, I'll start with you because, I mean, you only made 2 predictions. You got 50%
I'm not the
of them
prediction
right.
guru like you, man.
And I'm going to call you out on this one because I'm pretty sure you said Tottenham should sign Brendan Johnson a long time ago.
I did say at the beginning of the window, if they sold Harry Kane, he'd be an option to look at.
And guess what? Sir Scout Targo, you did it right.
Woo!
100%, man. I give you props there. That's pretty damn good. I got some right, but I'll be honest with you. I kind of had the inside track on all of these thanks to Fabrizio Romano. So, record spending over $2 billion in the Premier League. Bonucci to Berlin, Gigi Wijnaldum to join Stevie G, and Barca signed João Felix.
I didn't think Barca would get that João Felix one over the line, if I'm being honest.
They somehow just seem to get them all over the line, so that's why I said
money out of somewhere.
At what cost? And it was letting Ansu Fati leave, selling as Abde. You just let 2 of your, I mean, I guess Ansu Fati will be back, but I mean, they let 2 of their best young players go. So, with that, who are the biggest losers of the transfer window, Targo?
So I'm going to start with a hot take. This one might be a little bit of a hot take here.
Okay. I'm listening.
Liverpool,
okay,
I think, had a bad transfer window.
Why?
So we look at the players they lost. It was pretty much their entire midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Naby Keita.
Yeah, it was like 7 midfielders.
Yeah, they lost a bunch of them. They lost Firmino. And they brought in a whole new midfield. We got Dominic Szoboszlai, Alexis McAllister, this Japanese guy, or I think he's Japanese, Wataru Endo. And they brought in Ryan Gravenberch. So both Salai and McAllister, fantastic signings. We knew McAllister would thrive in the Premier League. He's been doing it. So both Salai is kind of a young, unproven talent, but he's looking good. We knew the skill was there. Endo, older midfielder from Stuttgart from the Bundesliga. And then Ryan Gravenberch.
Very unproven.
Hasn't played a lot.
Yeah.
Very unproven. He went from Ajax to Bayern Munich where he didn't play at all. And now he's come to Liverpool in the Premier League. So I have my doubts there. I do. But it's not just that. I guess where they really lost was in their negotiations with Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo losing out to Chelsea. They lost big there.
Huge.
They had a big money bid accepted by Brighton, and Caicedo said no. Their main target, young player Romeo Lavia, they were negotiating with him what seemed like all summer, and then they lose out to him last minute to Chelsea. And so that's gotta hurt. So then they go to these kind of two unproven players, and Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch.
Yeah, not to mention the player that we both thought that they should and would sign this summer. They didn't even bid for him.
And Jude Bellingham.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they bid more for Moises Caicedo. In what world does that make sense?
It doesn't, man. It doesn't. They could have got Jude Bellingham, who probably would have gone to Liverpool for
100%.
cheaper than Moises Caicedo, the offer they put in for him.
Yeah, it would have saved almost 20 mil.
So, yeah, that's... And then sticking with Merseyside, I got to talk about Everton and their transfer. Lack of business, let's call it.
Yeah.
So this is a team that has barely survived the last 2 seasons. And what did they do this transfer window, man? Not a lot. I mean, they got brought in, they desperately need goals, and they brought in a couple strikers in Danjuma and Beto.
Yeah.
They got a youngster, Shermiti, however you pronounce it. He looks like a young up-and-comer. And then they lost Alex Iwobi, and who's probably one of their best performers last season. And then they lost Amari Gray.
Yeah.
And they brought in Jack Harrison.
Don't forget Neil Mopé.
They sold him, yeah. They did bring in Jack Harrison, who I think could be a good signing. But I mean, let's be honest. These proven Premier League players? And Danjuma, Beto,
no,
a young 19-year-old.
We saw Danjuma last season for Tottenham, and he was awful.
Well, he didn't really play. I mean,
yeah.
So there's that.
When he did play, he was awful.
And so I think
so much pressure to put on young forward in Beto to produce.
So I think they're going to struggle. They finally got a goal this weekend, so that's good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, And then I have to shout out honorable mentions for a terrible transfer window to Sheffield United and Wolves.
Okay. And
Sheffield sold their probably best 2 players in Sander Berge and Ilman Ndiaye and didn't replace them. And then Wolves sold a host of talent and obviously did not replace them.
Yeah. I don't have anything good to say about Sheffield United, Wolves, or Everton as far as the transfer window goes. But yeah, I would say that Liverpool hot take, that's an interesting one. Yeah. I would say their transfer failings is definitely the worst part of their transfer window.
Yes.
They became the laughingstock of the Premier League.
Yeah, when did Chelsea become a bigger club, I guess, than Liverpool?
Never. Yeah, I don't know. All right. So
Let me hear yours.
I got a hot take too. Okay.
You do? Okay.
Let's go back in time, Targo. Okay. Close your eyes. Let's go back to, I don't know, beginning of the transfer window or January. If I was to tell you a team would sign Johnny Evans, Rasmus Højlund, Mason Mount, Sergio Reguilon, and Sofiane Amrabat, who would you think it was? Nottingham Forest or Manchester United?
I wouldn't think Nottingham Forest. Maybe a
If I took out
Aston
Rasmus
Villa.
Højlund,
Okay, yep.
I bet you would think. That's why I didn't include Onana on here, because obviously he would not sign for Nottingham Forest. But that's my point. Manchester United's transfer window is something of a team that's mid to bottom of the table, barring 2 players. This is supposed to be one of the biggest teams in the world. The players are wanting to go to, even if there's no Europe. And they still have Europe. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Not to mention, you can see by their performances on the field how bad it actually is.
I think it didn't help the whole sale of the club at the beginning of the transfer window. And so I'm guessing a lot of money wasn't given to them. But if you look at their transfers, they obviously spent quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happened there, if that had something to do with it. Because you would have thought, no disrespect to Rasmus Højlund, but they could have gotten a little bit more proven striker, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does. I mean, obviously he looked all right when he came on the field against Arsenal, but kid, a lot of pressure to place on his shoulders.
Also, the bar's not very high when it's you and Anthony Martial. So,
but yeah, you look at how much money they spent, and has it made them better? Made them better?
Not great value for money, I will say that. And then, they signed 11 players, 400 million spent, and still have no depth. And yes, I'm talking about Chelsea.
Which is interesting, because we said they were the winners here a couple weeks ago.
We did. And then what the play on the field has said otherwise. I don't know if that's a manager thing, if that's a player thing. I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yes, we will.
Go. One of my favorite categories of this, most surprising signing of the summer. Because there were a lot.
There were. I had to give an honorable mention, man. I'll start with my honorable mention.
Okay.
Just because I feel like this one, it came out of nowhere. All of a sudden it was rumored, then all of a sudden it was done. And that was Cole Palmer from Manchester City to Chelsea.
Yeah. And props to Manchester City. You got a guy who started or played in pretty much, a handful of games? He had 2 good performances. You get £45 million for him.
Pretty good deal for them.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, I got 2 that I want to mention. I'll start with David Raya from Brentford to Arsenal. I'll admit I did not see that one come in. It's still kind of head scratching. Wonder how it's going to work out.
Yeah, especially...
He's a fantastic goalkeeper, don't get me wrong, but having 2 very good goalkeepers, I think, can cause issues if you don't know who your number one's going to be.
Well, we've seen it before, right? With PSG, Keylor Navas, Gigi Donnarumma. That didn't end well for one of the goalies. Especially the structure of this deal, with it being a loan with option or obligation to buy depending on performances. And the fact that Tottenham bid more for him earlier in the window, and that bid got turned down.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. Definitely, for me, a little bit of a head scratcher as to why it was done more than that it got done. The other one, though, I didn't see this one coming. It's Ansu Fati from Barcelona to Brighton. Yeah. What a signing for Brighton, I feel like. If they can get the best out of him, we'll see. We'll see if he plays. I know we've talked about, where's he going to play? You got Gauro Matoma and then Solly March. So, we had mentioned this could be more of a depth buy as they get into the European games. But still, that's an interesting one. Good job on Brighton on it, though.
Yeah, again, this one came out of nowhere, too. We were talking about Tottenham and Arsenal going for him, and then all of a sudden Brighton got him on loan. I don't understand. But, yeah, right. Fantastic signing for Brighton, and what a coup for a player of his caliber.
So who do you got as your biggest transfers?
Well, I'll go with my honorable
Surprises.
mention.
Okay.
Honorable mention. Harry Kane to Bayern Munich. Because I never actually thought it would happen that Daniel Levy would let him go. I didn't. I
He's
didn't
gonna be
think he
stuck
would
there
let him go.
forever.
Yeah. I just thought he was going to be stuck until his contract ran out. And either he was going to sign a new contract because he just wanted to stay at Tottenham, lacked a little bit of ambition, or he was going to leave for free next summer, but not this summer. So that's my honorable mention. And I got 3 surprises because, well, I couldn't just stick with the 2 of them. Sandro Tonali to Newcastle. I did not think AC Milan were going to let him go, especially with how good he's been for him in recent years.
Was a bit of a surprise, yeah.
And then the fact that David De Gea is still a free agent as of this recording.
Yeah,
I don't get it, man. Between Saudi Arabia, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, any of them, and any club
Chelsea.
in between. Yeah. No one has even really attempted to sign him. I guess Bayern Munich did. Apparently he's got offers from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. But I mean, he's not washed up. He's still a decent goalie.
He's a
Real
fantastic
Madrid
shot
could have got him
stopper.
for free. Yeah. Real Madrid could have got him for free. I don't know. And my most surprising one, it's no secret, Gabri Viega to Al Ali. What a shame.
Interesting career move.
What a shame. What could have been Gabri Viega? You could have gone to Napoli. Played with 2 of the best players in the world. But you went to Saudi Arabia for the money. So, I'm interested to see how that one turns out. But
Same.
It was an absolute shock to me, especially since he was in negotiations, to go to Napoli. Okay, now that we got done with the losers and the surprises, Targo, who are the big winners of this transfer window?
Man, it's got to be just the Saudi Pro League. The players they got, man, is crazy.
Not to mention, Chelsea spent more than their entire league did and has so far. And the names and players that they got versus the players that Chelsea got, I'm just saying.
Yeah, Chelsea's not paying them probably as much in wages, but
hell no.
So there's that. But I'm gonna go through some of these names. I mean, they got Karim Benzema for free, and N'Golo Kante from Chelsea for free, Ruben Neves from Wolves for 55 million euros, Kolodu Koulibaly for 17 million pounds, Edward Mendy for 16 million, Steven Gerrard as a coach, Marcelo Brozovic from Inter Milan for 18 million euros, Jota from Celtic for 25 million pounds, Roberto Firmino for free, Serge Milinkovic-Savic for 40 million euros from Lazio, Seko Fofana from Lens for 25 million euros. Alex Telles for Man United, Malcolm from Zenit St. Petersburg, Jordan Henderson, Moussa Dembele, Riyad Mahrez, Alan St. Maximin, Fabinho, Sadio Mane, Frank Kessie, Neymar, Yacine Bonu, Alexander Mitrovic, Otavio, Aymeric Laporte, Gabri Viega, Gini Wijnaldum, Yannick Carrasco. And they're still looking to get Mo Salah.
Yeah. It's just an insane amount of players for that price.
And so they got to be the winners in my book. I mean,
they're on my list too. I mean, how can you not put them on there for real?
It's tough, yeah. I will say PSG also had a fantastic window.
They did.
They got Kolo Muani, Manuel Ugarte, Usman Dembele, Lucas Hernandez, Hugo Ekitike, Kangan Lee, Xavi Simmons, Milan Skriniar, Marco Asensio.
Did you say Goncalo Ramos?
Goncalo Ramos on loan, yep.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of talent they got, plus keeping Mbappe, which also is big for them.
Yes. And then also I got to give a shout out to a few teams out there. Arsenal, I feel like had a decent transfer window. Bayern Munich had a decent transfer window. And West Ham United, I feel like they spent that Declan Rice money very well.
Very, very well. Yes. And you can see it with their early season form.
Yes, you can. And I know some on your list I also would mention, but I'll let you speak to them.
Okay. Well, I'll start with my honorable mention. Tottenham Hotspur. Who would have thought that I would have put them on my list with my immense dislike and hatred for them? I mean, they signed Brennan Johnson, 55 million. These are all in euros, by the way, because I didn't want to do the conversion rate. James Madison, 46.3 million. Pedro Porro for 40 and Dejan Kulusevski for 30, who joined them permanently. Mickey Vanderven for 22. Guillermo Vicario, who's looking like a fantastic signing, for 20 mil. Youngster and Alejo Veliz for 15. Manor Solomon for free, which is looking like a steal. And they got what they wanted. 100 million for Harry Kane. Got rid of Deadwood. Lucas Moura out for free. Harry Winks, they got 11.5 million for him. Sergio Reguilon, Tungai Dombele, and Davidson Sanchez for 9.5 million. So I would say that's a pretty darn good window, especially since they got 100 mil for Harry Kane.
Sneaky bit of business there by Spurs.
Sneaky. And then I did have the Saudi Pro League on here. You covered them already. You can't not have them on there. I mean, come on. You've seen that window. And I kind of went off the beaten path for my other three.
Three, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Because I had PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich all on there. I'd take them off because I went with more of a better value for money spent. So I'm going to start with Galatasaray.
Okay.
Their window was ridiculous. Okay. They spent 10 million on Mauro Icardi, 9.5 million on Davidson Sanchez, got Karim Demirbay for 4, Khan Ahan for 2.8, Cedric Bakumbu for 1 million. They got Tete and Luis Zaha for free, Hakeem Ziyech, Angelino, and Dombele on loan. And then they got 5 million to loan out Nicolo Zaniolo. Their net spend is minus 14 million. And they added 75 million on market value to their squad. Not to mention, they're going to cause some trouble for some teams in Europe.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Quality players there.
Yeah. And then we're going to go over to Germany in Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen. They were already a solid team last year, and they went above and beyond this summer. They got Nathan Tella from Southampton for 23 million. One of my signings of the summer, even though I didn't quite put him on there. Victor Boniface, 20 million. Granit Xhaka for 15. Jonas Hoffman from Mönchengladbach for 10. Alejandro Grimaldo for free. They got Josip Stanisic from Bayern on loan. They sold Moussa Diaby for 55 million to Aston Villa, and Mitchell Bakker, to Atalanta for 10, and Demirbay to Galatasaray. So they're looking much better than they were last season with these signings.
Yeah, and they kept their defense. Jonathan Tah, Edmund Tapsoba, Jeremy Frimpong, which I think was key as well.
100%. And then my last team, which you and I have been singing their praises about their transfer business all summer, and that's AC Milan. I mean, the players they got for value of money is insane. I mean, they got Christian Pulisic for 20 million, Samuel Chukwueze, 20 million, Yunus Musa, 20 million, Tiani Rendiers, 19 million. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, 16 million. Noah Okafor, who's looking like a steal for 14 million. They got Luka Jovic for free, which could be a fantastic signing. It could also be a terrible signing. And then they got one of the best up and coming young right backs from a rival in Luca Romero from Lazio for free. And then they sold Sandro Tonali for 64 million. So the majority of this money came from selling Sandro Tonali.
Yeah, they never spent more than 20 mil on a player.
Yeah. It's fantastic business, and they look much better than they did last year. So
They do.
those are my big winners of the transfer window. So with that all said, Targo, which signing will have the most impact for their respective clubs? There's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, this one's tough. I know you kind of put your list out there before mine, and so I agree with your number one pick there, your first one, because I wanted to put him, but since you got him out, I went with a couple others. So there's three of them I got. I think Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Could be a huge one for Bayern Munich. Last season, they were calling out for a striker terribly. They finally got one. So we'll see how he does. Harry Kane, he's good for 20, 30 goals.
Yeah, and in Bundesliga, at the rate he's going, it could be 40.
Could be.
It's scary.
But I think a couple that I couldn't tell you which one I would put first. I think they're probably both pretty equal. But one is going to be Declan Rice for Arsenal.
We've seen it already. Yeah. Huge.
He's just a fantastic player in that position. He makes every team better. He's one of the best in the world in that position, so it's no doubt he'll help them out a lot. His leadership quality, I think, also is a huge factor in that decision. But then I'm going to go with his replacement at West Ham, James Ward-Prowse. Yeah, I think he's going to be a little bit unexpected. He's already popped up with a couple assists, a goal for West Ham United, and West Ham look good. Or not.
Well, I mean, you think of where West Ham were at this point last year. Towards the bottom of the table, and they never quite recovered. This year, they're sitting in the top 4. It's a big difference. What can I say?
And the teams they beat Brighton, they beat Chelsea.
Yeah. And they look good doing it too.
They do. And I'd mentioned previously how West Ham spent that money. It's James Ward-Prowse, Edson Alvarez, Mohamed Kudus. So it's exciting times, I think, for West Ham.
Yeah, I would say so.
Which I would not have said at the beginning of this before week 1.
I know, especially because it's not every day that a team sells their best player and then finds suitable replacements. Like most times it takes them a couple of years to find those replacements. And West Ham went out and did it in a month.
I would say the same thing could be said about Spurs, the way they spent that Harry Kane money.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. They got to replace a lot of goals. So.
Well, they're scoring them under Ange.
Yeah. They definitely are. And Lord knows how many they would score with Harry Kane in that squad.
So which players this transfer window do you think will have the biggest impact?
So I got to do an honorable mention to Victor Boniface and Granit Xhaka at Bayer Leverkusen. They got a proven leader and a guy who seems to be an ageless wonder in Granit Xhaka, and then a guy who tore up the Europa League last year, Victor Boniface. They both have already shown that they're great signings. I mean, Boniface's got like 5 or 6 goal contributions already in assists and goals. So
yeah, he has.
And a guy I couldn't leave out, Jude Bellingham for Real Madrid. I did not think he was going to make this much of an impact, but at the rate he's going, he's probably going to break whatever record there is for most goals by a midfielder in the season.
Do you think he has potential to be the best midfielder Real Madrid's had?
Ooh, that is a very, very strong list.
I know.
If he
I think the
stays
top of
at
that list might be Zidane, but
yeah. I think if he stays, if he stays till he's 30, very well could be with the potential he has. I'm not going to say yes or no for that because you got to be better than Zidane. Come on. Figo. He's got a whole list of world-class midfielders they've had over the years. So he has the potential, yes. Will he? I don't know if he stays there long enough to be that.
If he continues the way he's going, he will be.
Yeah. And then, surprisingly, I never thought I would say this. James Maddison for Tottenham Hotspur will have the most impact for their clubs because if he stays healthy the whole season at the rate he's going, I don't know if many teams can stop him.
I almost got to give a shout out to Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah,
as an impact
perfect
signing.
player for his system. Yes,
and he's having him play the way that suits James Maddison.
Yeah,
I think best. Kind of floating in between the lines, telling him to get forward, go create something, go score a goal, and he's doing just that.
Yeah, and not to mention, he is finding some great assists as well, especially on the counter. So, when they look to break, you get him the ball. It's dangerous every single time. So what do you guys think? Who will have the most impact for their new club? Who's had the best transfer window, the worst transfer window? Are we right? Are we wrong? Do we forget somebody? Let us know. Make sure to check out that Facebook group and put it on there. All right, Targo. We had a very eventful match week 4 in the English Premier League. Some big games. So let's get into it. We had Luton Town. First game at home. Playing West Ham. We knew it was always going to be quite the scene. They must have covered that stadium for an hour before the game. They didn't even talk about players on the field. We thought, could West Ham keep their cool and their form at the same time? Would it be Luton surprising people because they're at home? They got so much energy and the fans behind them. Well, West Ham ran out 2-1 winners in this one. They did keep their cool, but not without a scare or two.
Yeah, this was an interesting one because West Ham, for once, didn't have to play counterattacking football like they did against Brighton and Chelsea. And so they were up 2-0. Couple headers from Jared Bowen and I think Kurt Zuma.
Yeah.
And so, all 3 goals in this game were scored by headers. Luton got one late, but it just wasn't enough. I was hoping maybe Luton could pull a fast one on West Ham.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad shout, especially, new team. We saw what can happen with a new team in the Premier League playing, a historical squad. Brentford did it to Arsenal in their first game back in the Premier League at home. It wasn't a bad shout. I did pick West Ham, and they did win. So,
yes, he did.
Okay, on to the relegation derby. Sheffield United and Everton. Arguably one of the two of the worst teams in the Premier League. I thought at least, that it might be an absolute snooze fest. This one ended 2-2 in a draw, and it was completely the opposite.
Yeah, it was. Pickford, man, with one of the unluckiest goals you'll get.
It really was.
Shot coming off the bar, back off him, and into the goal.
It reminded me of the penalty kick that Tim Howard had where it bounced off the post, hit him in the back of the head, and went in.
Yeah,
it was for Manchester United. It might have been for Everton. I don't know. But it's very similar. I just, what are the odds that ball does that? I just feel bad for him because he had such a good game.
Oh, man, he had a fantastic double save there at the end. Kept him in it.
I don't know how he does that.
Where do you think this Everton team would be without Jordan Pickford?
I don't know. Probably League One. Somewhere around.
Relegated 2 years ago.
Sunderland or Portsmouth is.
So it's curious. Chelsea So, Chelsea were looking for a goalkeeper. I guess, did they ever inquire about Jordan Pickford? Do you think he would have been a good fit there? Or?
I think he would have been a great fit there. I don't know if he was of the profile they're looking for because he's in his 30s now, isn't he?
That I don't know.
Well, I do know that, Chelsea signed pretty much everybody the age 25 and younger. So.
Not quite. He's 29.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with my Chelsea went for everybody that was 25 and younger. Because I know Robert Sanchez is 25. Maybe they signed one person that's 26, I think. Maybe that was Robert Sanchez. But still, I don't know why they wouldn't have gone for Pickford, because he would have probably cost less than Robert Sanchez did.
Or about the same.
Yeah. And he would have been a much better shot stopper. Maybe not as good with his feet, but a much better shot stopper.
But you called this one also. You called the draw.
Yeah,
well done.
That was luck of the draw. Well, let's get to games I didn't get right. Manchester City against Fulham. Could Fulham keep their solid form against the champions? No. They could not. They lost 5-1. City are too damn good.
Yeah.
They're too damn good.
And to be honest, I don't think they played well in this game.
No, they never looked like they got out of
funny
second
to see.
gear. They didn't look like they were trying that hard.
Yeah, the only real controversy was the second goal that went in.
That's not just a little bit of controversy. It's a lot of controversy.
Yeah, Ake's goal was an
awful call.
Akanji in the way.
Not only was he in the way, it's the way he influenced Bernd Leno's reaction to it.
He did. Bernd Leno stops for a second to see if he's going to get a touch on it, and then it makes him dive late, essentially.
Yeah, and he jumped up, and the ball went through his legs. That, by definition, is offsides.
I think it should have been.
Yeah. Today, they came out and said that, well, they made a mistake.
Oh, there's at least one a week, right?
At least one against Manchester City. Shoot, I thought that they were just paying all the refs. So
1-4 Manchester City, you mean? Yeah.
Well, yeah. They needed to be against that. Anyways, yeah, Haaland with yet another hat trick. He's got 5 and 4. Julian Alvarez, though, I want to talk about him playing more as a number 10 pivot because he looks fantastic in that role.
He's just a good player, man.
Yeah, what can't he do? How about that? They're going to start putting him at left back or right back like they did Bernardo Silva? Because I bet he'd kill it there too. I have no bad things to say about Julian Alvarez, especially since he's conquered football at the age of 23. He's won.
Yeah, I mean, you know how high I've been high on Alvarez, man, since last year.
Yeah.
So, fantastic player.
Jeremy Doku with his debut for City. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of gave my thoughts in a previous episode. I watched him play for Belgium a couple times. He's quick, explosive pace. He showed it again.
Yeah.
Still kind of waiting for that final product. He doesn't quite have, I don't want to say the skill, but kind of that smooth touch that you expect kind of from a dribbler. He's just very more going to beat you for pace.
Yeah, he looks like, I'll be honest, and this might not be the right analogy to use, but he looks like someone who's really good at FIFA, but doesn't know how to use the trick stick. Very jerky. But yeah, I mean, I'll wait to judge, but my early thoughts is he's going to be a menace to defenses all season. He just lacks that final ball because he didn't put in very many good crosses, and he probably could have. I mean, he beat his defender 9 times out of 10. So, but yeah, if Pep continues to work on him, I think they're going to have quite the player on their hands and have replaced Riyad Mahrez and then some.
Yeah, and then just kind of overall thoughts. I thought Fulham played well for the first 30 minutes, really limited Manchester City's chances. But then one went in, and then pretty soon 2 right before the half there, and then the Haaland show.
Yeah, as usual.
And just watching this game, because I mean, so it was kind of interesting because Fulham played Manchester City this week, but last week they played Arsenal at the Emirates. And it just kind of goes to show, Arsenal were second place last season, and you look at Man City, who finished first. They were still just heads and shoulders above the rest of this league. Manchester City, man.
Yeah.
Didn't even have, like you said, to get out of second gear to score 5 goals. One should have been offside, but
yeah, and it might have changed the tide of the game as far as like by such a big scoreline. I still think City would have won the game, but they might not have won it by 4 goals.
But they're just the best team, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go on to win 4 Premier League titles.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, with Liverpool's defensive struggles and Arsenal's Achilles heel being Kai Havertz at the moment, if he doesn't start to produce, I think you're right. I just think that Arteta is putting all of his eggs in the Kai Havertz basket, and if it doesn't pan out, look out. I think City is going to run away with this.
They certainly have started well.
Yeah.
Perfect so far.
I picked a draw. You picked City. Obviously, you were right. Win some, lose some. And then we go on to the team that we both thought, well, they might be up there towards the end of the season in Chelsea against Nottingham Forest. And it was, can Forest continue to get goals inside of the first couple minutes and play like that for 90? Well, they won this one 1-0 and scored inside the first couple minutes of the second half. And it was really more of one moment of brilliance from Forest and Chelsea being Chelsea.
I wouldn't call it a moment of brilliance by Forest. I'd call it a mistake by Chelsea that Forest took advantage of.
So it's how just still more Chelsea being Chelsea.
Yeah, you can tell it's a bunch of young players in that Chelsea squad. The chemistry is just not there.
There's no leadership. Think of who are the players in this team that will lead them. Raheem Sterling, Thiago Silva. Is there anybody else?
No. I knew you were going to ask me that. Cresswell, maybe. Reece James, if
he gets on the field.
Play. Yeah. Otherwise, it's all young players, man. Yeah. And unfortunately, young players, there's a learning curve, and they make mistakes. They make poor choices sometimes, and so they cost you points.
Yeah. Well, I will say, how impressive has Anthony Elanga been for Nottingham Forest, especially with that goal?
Needs to be starting, I think.
So too, especially with Brendan Johnson leaving. And then at the other end, how impressive has Matt Turner been?
I mean, honestly, I feel like he didn't have much to do in this game. He came up, I think, with a couple nice saves there at the end, but Chelsea didn't really test him.
Which is sad because they had 22 shots.
And I think 2 of them were on target or something like that.
Including a couple that were inside the 6-yard box, and Nico Jackson missing the easiest of them all. Man, does his finishing need to improve, or Chelsea is going to struggle.
Yeah, he had a real bad miss. It was bad. And then, Caicedo looks like he's still getting used to the team. He's only came on as a sub. This was his first start, so got to give him a few games, I would think, but the pressure is certainly there after that transfer fee.
He looks a shadow of what he did at Brighton. Even when he first...
Well, again, he's coming to a new team.
Even when he first started for Brighton. Still looks like a shadow of that player.
So I heard a pretty good analogy on ESPN the other day. It's when, for example, at Brighton, they're kind of a well-oiled machine. And they, players come and get bought. They put in a new one, just kind of fit back into the machine that's, already going. Chelsea, they're trying to build the machine. It's not going. It's not well drilled. They're trying to build it. And so to bring, a player who performed well at another club and to bring him into a new one, it takes time. Yeah. You have to get used to the players. Poch still has quite the project on his hands of getting that team to play together.
Yeah. With that said, with all of these new players, do you think Poch is that answer? Is he the coach to take them forward?
I don't think there's anyone else better out there. It's the bad part.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Well, you picked Chelsea. I picked Forest in this one. I'll be honest with you. I got
that
lucky
one.
again.
And then we'd mentioned Chelsea. We're going to talk about their transfers. They spent $1 billion the past year. Past
three transfer windows.
And you think with $1 billion spent, that front line would look better than it does.
And I mean, I'll give them credit.
Or that team would have more depth.
I'll give them credit. Christopher Nkunku's out for the majority of the season. And, I assume he was their big goal scorer they brought in. But with his injury woes, you would think that they would have brought in somebody else.
But I mean, you even think of Madueke or Mihailo Mudryk. I mean, they got Enzo Fernandez playing as more of an attacking threat on that Chelsea squad.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's his best position. As we saw for Argentina, he played more of a defensive role.
Yeah.
And there's lots of stuff I don't like with Chelsea. I don't like their formation.
I mean, they playing with
a back
defenders.
Three with the wing backs. Especially against a Forest team at home. And they played in that summer series in the U.S. where they played a lot of Premier League teams. They played with back four and they looked good
the whole time.
So I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me why they're doing this back three with wing backs.
I don't get it.
Especially since they won that summer series. Why not go back to what was working?
Maybe they just need to pay you millions of pounds to become their coach. I don't know.
As you say, I digress.
Yeah, I digress. All right, moving on to Burnley and Tottenham Hotspur. And honestly, we asked. This was the big question. Would we see a box-to-box game with Ange Ball and the way Vincent Kompany likes to play? Well, we got 7 goals in this one, so it definitely was.
Yes, it was.
Tottenham winning 5-2. I mean, it's very open. 7 goals scored kind of tells you it was. Burnley started well, scoring the early one, and then fell apart.
Honestly, there could have been more goals in this game. Tottenham could have had probably another 3 or 4 more. Burnley could have had another 1 or 2. So it was a fun game to watch.
Yes,
that's for sure.
It was. And I gotta point out, man, as much as we battered him last season, Seong-Ho Min with a hat trick in this one, is this his return to form?
So what's funny is when I was watching that game, I feel like he didn't do much. But he had some nice finishes, which I guess him playing in that striker position, which was another little interesting tidbit, as they played him as the striker and brought on Manor Solomon on the left. So Richarlison, your boy, was sitting on the bench.
Where he should be.
I think it looked like a good move. That first goal by Son, man, was beautiful.
Yes, it was. And you got James Maddison looking like Kevin De Bruyne out there, continuing his red-hot form. I mean, I assume this is how a lot of Spurs games are going to go this season. And if they score like they have been, my pick of them finishing 10th looks mighty terrible. Let's just say that.
Yeah. They look good, that's for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to Manor Solomon, who got 2 assists in this one. God, does he look like a good pickup for free. We both picked Spurs. They ran out comfortable winners.
You might remember on my underrated team of the season, I had a little shout out to Manor Solomon.
You did. I mean, he was one of the best impact subs all season for Fulham. I don't know why they didn't start him more.
Or try to keep him.
There's another answer or question.
I think they did try and they just didn't pan out. But
would you rather play for Tottenham or Fulham? Great question.
Fulham.
I wasn't even going to answer. Oh, God. All right. Moving on. Brentford and Bournemouth. I mean, I thought for sure that Brentford at home, this wasn't even going to be a game. It ended 2-2. Mbomo and Visa, could they keep up their goal scoring form? Yeah, they could. Mbomo getting the tying goal in extra time. But I want to talk about Justin Cliver. Because, man, did he put in a solid performance in his first start for the Cherries.
Yeah, I really liked a couple of the goals in this game. So Matthias Jensen, player I know you're fond of, he scored a free kick, caught the goalie cheating.
Those are my favorite goals. I'm not going to lie. Like the goalie, you're like, okay, you think I'm going to put it there and you're going to cheat. But guess what? Middle finger to you, my friend. It's in. That's what you get.
And then that Brian and Bomo go, he had a beautiful first touch to set himself through. Yeah. But man, I feel like Brentford kind of shot themselves on this one with their Bournemouth second goal.
100%.
It was like a through ball over the top. And Rico Henry, man, you saw his pace. He beats the Bournemouth player. Can't remember who it was. But he beats him for pace. And then he goes to play it back to the goalie and just hits it with his purse, man. Barely gets a hold of it. Bournemouth player hops onto it, passes it, sits the goalie down, and there you are.
Yeah.
Absolute horror of a back pass, but and Bomo looking good, man. 4 goals, 4 games.
Looking like prime Jude Bellingham over here. We both picked Brentford in this one, and they did not. They did not win. To their own chagrin. Okay. Crystal Palace and Wolves. Would we see the real Crystal Palace in this game? The one we've been wanting to see all season? Well, I'll say for the final 40 minutes, yes, I guess we did. They ran out 3-2 winners in this one, and your boy, Brechieze, impresses yet again with a goal.
Yeah, what a first touch for that goal, too. And then kind of a funny assist off the back of Mateta.
Yeah. Do you think he did that on purpose?
He kind of has to. I mean, whether he thought it would pan out that way, I don't think so. But I think he's trying to get something on the ball.
Yeah, I will give him
and
that.
hit it in that direction.
But do you think he managed to, give the old butt pass perfectly to Brechieze?
He managed to do it, man. I'll give him credit. I think he tries to get something on the body to push the ball in that direction. I will say he meant to try to hit the ball that way.
It was great improvisation by him either way. And what a wonderful first touch and finish from Brechieze, who I can't imagine will be at Crystal Palace after this season.
No.
And then we thought, how would Wolves fare without Matthias Nunes? So they looked okay. But what we've been saying all season, Hwang Hee-chan needs to start. I feel like it should be obvious at this point.
Yeah, he came off as a sub and scored a goal here.
And he's got the most goals for Wolves this season. Off the bench. Put him on the field.
Yeah, agreed.
You picked a draw. I picked Palace. Palace winning this one. So let's get on to what you've all been waiting for, our Fab 5 games to watch for this weekend and the storylines to watch in them. Our first game up was AS Roma and AC Milan, and we thought this was going to be a tasty affair, or at least I did until I saw Roma's form this season. It's been terrible. AC Milan running out 2-1 winners in this one, and I mean, like you said earlier, our last episode, there were quite a few games in Serie A this weekend. Napoli and Lazio. Probably that one should have been on here since Lazio won 2-1. You had Inter and Fiorentina. Inter demolishing them 4-0. The big question was, would we see Romelu Lukaku's debut? And I have to put it up here first because I know you're going to say your boy Lukaku made his debut.
Yes, he did. Came off the bench in the 70th minute.
And I will say he should have done better with the chance he did have, but at least he went close instead of skying it into Rosette.
That was with his right foot, I believe, right?
It was.
He had fantastic hold-up play,
Yeah.
I will say.
And I mean, that's what he's known for. So if Jose Mourinho can get them to capitalize on that, they'll be okay this season. But it just came down to AC Milan were that much better. I mean, they kept their goal-scoring form up. They now have 8 goals in their first 3 games. Christian Pulisic did not keep his scoring form going, but what you said, what was it? The Olivier better than Neymar Giroud. With yet another one, King Oli. And
At 36,
at 36
too, man.
got a penalty, and I believe it was the 9th minute after Ruben
Yeah, it was early.
Loftus-Cheek was tripped by Jose Sa.
Rui Patricio.
I get
Different
them
Portuguese.
mixed up. All right, they both played for Wolves at one point, so whatever. And then could Rafael Leao get his first goal? And oh my goodness, what a first goal it was!
What a funny looking weird bicycle kick, scissor kick. I don't know what you call
like
it, man. It looked like
he slipped and then somehow improvised a perfect finish out of it.
Like when I saw it in real time, I was like, was he sitting on his ass and he just somehow managed to overhead kick that?
Yeah, he was like this far.
Just about. Yeah. He was just about.
But what a finish. In off the post. The bicycle kick / scissor. I don't even know how to describe that one.
It was a weird one. I would recommend going checking that one out.
Roma, on the other hand, I mean, they were just outplayed on the park. I mean, they're looking for their first win. They had a draw and a loss to start the season, and now another one. Especially after the transfer window they had. You know, Hassim Aouar and Leonardo Paredes started in this one. They're still winless, and to make things worse, Aouar came off injured in the first half.
Yeah, I think it was like after 20 minutes or so he came off.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just, I don't know if it's the setup. You know, it's Jose Mourinho, so it was a very defensive setup, and it looked like it.
Yeah, and they have so much attacking talent. Do you think it's more of they're just so reliant on Paulo Dybala why they're struggling this season? Or is it just because their new signings haven't meshed yet?
I think it's maybe new signings, but also they got some injuries. Paulo Dybala didn't play in this one. You know, Renato Sanchez still hasn't played yet. So I think there's potential there when those players come back for them to get into some good form. Well,
I will say, you know, at least for AS Roma and Jose Mourinho, it's still early in the season. A lot of games left, and you know, with the unpredictability of the Serie A last season, they could very well get right back into the title race after the next 3 or 4 games. So in this one, Milan were so much the better team throughout this game, and it took, a second yellow to Fikayo Tomori for them to even get into this game.
Yeah, honestly, Roma weren't in this game at all until that red card to AC Milan, and that's when they finally kind of got into the game. Leonardo Spinazzola had a deflected shot go in.
I mean, that was in what,
for me, it was all Milan.
92nd minute, too?
Ruben Loftus-Cheek, it was like stoppage time.
What a pickup. He's looking like...
But Ruben Loftus-Cheek, man, looks like one heck of a player in Serie A.
Yeah. It leaves Milan tied for points atop the table with inner-city rivals Inter ahead of the Derby della Madonnina. After the international break, so we'll talk to you guys about that in our next episode. Roma, on the other hand, sitting in 18th place with only 1 point out of 3 games. We won't pick Milan. They pulled it out. Okay, back to the Premier League, Targo. We had Brighton and Newcastle in what we thought would have been one of the most exciting games in the Premier League to date. And the rough set of fixtures really did continue for Newcastle.
Yeah, ended 3-1. It was funny. You and I were trying to watch this one while doing our fantasy football draft.
Yeah, ended up having to watch
Had to have it on.
Yeah.
But Brighton they outplayed Newcastle, man.
Piling on the misery for Newcastle. I mean, they've got 1 win in 4 now. And oddly enough, Brighton dominated possession and Newcastle for the majority of the game did not look dangerous at all.
What's going on with Newcastle? How come they're not playing as well as they did last season?
Well, as far as defensively, I think a big part of it is the fact that Sven Botman's out. He played in one game this season, and they won it. They've lost the other 3. Kind of similar to Arsenal without William Saliba. But go ahead.
I think I disagree with you.
Really?
I'm going to go throughout it's a whole team thing, where last year, individual players were performing above what they normally play. You're not getting that this year. You're not. Honestly, Nick Pope doesn't look as good this year. Right. Lewis Dunk, Miguel Almiron, Bruno Guimaraes, they don't look as good this year as they did last year.
I mean, other than that first game, Sandro Tonali as well. He doesn't look like the player he was last season or even in the first game. Kieran Trippier, same thing. So I think you're onto something there. I also think Brighton are just that good.
Yeah, Newcastle are trying to press, man, that Brighton team. When you press them, it's a thing of beauty to watch them.
They're so fun to watch.
Move the ball around you, and then once they get past that original press, man, it is on. They go and attack.
They do. And Evan Ferguson, the next 100 mil man with his first English Premier League hat trick. And I mean, is this more of an Evan Ferguson thing, or is this the fact that Newcastle just let him have acres of space the whole game?
I think it could be both. He's finding the right positions.
Yeah. I mean, especially for that second goal. I mean, it seemed like he got the ball maybe 35, 40 yards out, and no one pressed him. He just took a couple touches forward, slotted it home, bottom corner. Nick Pope didn't even dive for it.
From all of 25 yards out.
I mean, I will give Nick Pope credit. The third goal, I took a huge deflection. There's not really anything he could do about it. But I'm not taking anything away from the new and improved Fergie time. He's in scintillating form.
Yeah, but I will criticize Nick Pope for the first 2, pairing it out to Ferguson. And then I think he should have done better on that shot. I mean, it was from 25 yards out. I think he could have.
That first one especially,
gotten a little closer to it.
Should have caught that in his chest instead of parrying it. And as a goalie,
so
wrap your arms around it, let it hit you in the chest. I don't care if it knocks the wind out of you. You saved it. It didn't go in the net. So, I think, at least they gave you a recipe. Gave every other team in the Premier League a recipe of what not to do against Brighton, which is press them heavily. With you picking Brighton to win this one, and me picking a draw, wrongfully so.
I got one right, finally.
Speaking of us picking one wrongfully so, we had Union Berlin against RB Leipzig. We thought Union Berlin would win this one. Having scored 8 goals in their first 2 games, they scored 0 in this one. RB Leipzig running out, comfortable winners, winning 3-0.
And looked to the better team.
They did. Yeah. I mean, they've now scored 8 goals in 2 games, with 5 against Stuttgart and 3 against Union Berlin. Xavi Simons looks like quite the impressive signing. Opening goal in this one, and what a golazo it was.
Oh, beauty, man. Beauty of a goal.
Yes.
And their third goal, too, was a beautifully worked team goal. I believe I posted that on our Instagram story, so check that out.
Yeah, Xavi Simons with his 5th goal contribution this season. He's looking like he's going to be up there with some of the most goal contributions in the Bundesliga this season. If it wasn't to make things worse for Union Berlin, Kevin Volland got a straight red in the 64th minute for his tackle on Mohamed Simakan. Was it a red for you?
Was it a red for you? Jinx, yeah. He goes down the back of him with his studs, back of his leg. That was a little harsh.
Yeah, I think it's a little harsh for a straight red. I understand the ref giving the red, but I think that kind of tiptoes the line of being a yellow card and a straight red.
It's more of an orange for me.
Can we do like a yellow card with like 5 minutes in the box? Is that a thing?
There you go.
New boy Benjamin Sesko with a brace in 2 minutes, coming on as a sub, scoring in the 85th and 87th to seal it for Leipzig. And like you said, that second goal of his was a thing of beauty. Union Berlin, well, this is their first loss after going a club record 24 straight wins at home, or unbeaten at home. And they really disappointed me.
Wow, that's a good run.
All right, back to the Premier League for our last two, Targo. And the first one we had was Liverpool and Aston Villa. Now, we thought Liverpool's defense would be a little suspect without Virgil van Dijk, since he was suspended for an additional game after his conduct getting a red card against Newcastle. And, well, let's just say Aston Villa looked a shadow of what we thought they would look like this season, as they lost 3-0.
They did not play good, Villa.
No, and to make things worse for them, Darwin Núñez continued his hot form. He is starting to make quite the connection with Mo Salah.
I do feel like Núñez should have scored some of these goals, but he's getting into good positions. He had one that he took a shot, comes off the post, and then, unfortunately for Matty Cash, bounces right off him and into the goal.
Yeah. Trent Alexander-Arnold with yet another passing masterclass, showing if you don't close him down, he's going to hurt you.
Well, and then Aston Villa playing a high line, man. Trent was just dinking little balls over the top for players to run onto. So, I mentioned this when Villa played Newcastle, that high line that they were playing.
Yeah, it might work in La Liga.
And Newcastle made him
Unai Emery, but it is not going to work against teams like Newcastle and Liverpool. They're just too fast. Dominic Szoboszlai impressed again for Liverpool. How about
he looks like a player, man.
Goal, man. Woo!
Beauty.
Yeah, and I'll admit, Aston Villa are not as good as I thought they would be. At least not right now. Ollie Watkins.
They made some good
signings.
Ollie
Watkins looked like a shadow of what he was last season. Leon Bailey looks absolutely awful this season. Moussa Diaby being one of their few bright spots. And, I mean, Yuri Tielemans? Has he even played? Watching the games, I think
injuries also, though. I think injuries to Villa don't help. Tyrone Mings out. Moreno's out, their left back. Emi Buendia, their midfielder's out. So a couple important players there.
But talking about Liverpool, man, going forward, they look like they're back to their best. And I'm not going to lie, it might be a 3-horse race for the title.
I don't know, man. It might be a 1-horse race at this point.
It'll be more than one team challenging Manchester City this season. Let's go with that.
We'll see if any teams challenge Manchester City.
Okay, challenging for second. How about that?
There you go.
You picked Liverpool. I picked a draw. You were very much right. Even though I said Liverpool would win if they had 10 men, they still had 11. And then to the final game in what might have been the most dramatic and most stressful for us as Arsenal fans. Arsenal played Manchester United in what never disappoints to be a good game. Rafael Varane, Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, Tyrell Malacia, and Amon Diallo were all out for this match for United. Arsenal ran out 3-1 winners, and for most of the game, it was much closer than the 3-1 scoreline.
This was kind of an interesting game. So yeah, Arsenal won 3-1, and I would say they dominated possession of the game. But Onana really never to make a save. I can think of one from Bukayo Saka in that second half. So I would say they didn't really threaten the goal. But at the same time, Man United almost looked like they were playing for a draw. They didn't really offer much. I mean, they didn't do anything for 20 minutes until they got that goal.
And it was very much against the run of play.
And so it was kind of a weird one. Like, Man United didn't look good, but almost neither did Arsenal. If I'm being honest.
For the majority of the game, you're definitely correct. And I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Kai Havertz, Arsenal looked so much better after they took him off. Excuse me.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta has a issue on his hands named Kai Havertz. He wanted him, spent 65 million was it on him? And now he feels like he almost has to play him.
Yeah, and I mean, listening to him in press conferences too, I mean, he's saying how much he sees his quality day in and day out, and he just wants the fans to get behind him. And once he gets a goal, he'll be off and running. But I mean, at this point, it's hard to believe he's going to get a goal. I mean, he had one of the easiest opportunities of the game to score, and he completely missed the ball.
He whiffed it, man. And maybe things got a little bit better. He almost drew a PK.
Almost.
In this game, but it got called back to VAR.
We discussed at length about it.
No PK.
I've watched it many, many times since, and I'll be honest with you, it probably isn't a penalty kick. I don't know why they reversed it.
I think I would have let it stand.
Yeah, I would have let...
I don't think it was a clear and obvious error.
Wasn't enough there.
There was some contact. Was it a lot? No. But I've seen them given for less. For Man United example, that Rashford one.
Rasmus Højlund made his debut in this one. He's massive.
He's a big boy. He's a big, strong boy. That's for sure, man.
United definitely looked better.
Could be a difference maker.
They looked better going forward when he was on. And, I mean, just watching him stand there next to Gabriel, who's no slouch. Gabriel looks small.
So you think there was any penalty shout-outs in there?
As far as...
Gabriel on Højlund?
No. It's two players fighting for the ball. Same with the Johnny Evans and Gabriel situation as well. I don't know what Ten Hag saw. I think he's just complaining after the game.
Oh, man. So, yeah, let's get into his comments. So he said it wasn't offside. They're looking at the wrong angle. Højlund should have had a PK. And that it was a foul on Evans for that second Arsenal goal.
Okay, so I'll start with the beginning of that comment since I already, talked about the other two. And I've seen other angles of that. And if you go to a camera that's further down the line there, he looks more offsides. So I don't understand where Ten Hag is going with that one.
He's offsides. I don't get how he can argue that.
Yeah, like the view that
I just don't get how he can argue it.
The view
like,
they gave was the best one towards Manchester United and him being Garnacho being on sides. All the rest of them, he looks way more offsides than the 6 inches that it was, maybe less.
It wasn't a lot. It was a close one, but he's still offsides. And then the foul on Højlund, I think that's where he has his biggest argument, if I'm being honest. I mean, yeah, maybe, but I also feel like you said, it's two players fighting for the ball. And if you look at the still images, don't do it justice. Because you look at the bigger picture, you can see Saliba is also right there, ready to scoop up the ball as these two players are kind of trying to jockey for position. And then the Declan Rice goal, man, how is that a foul? Gabriel is standing there, and Johnny Evans has a hold of him first.
Gabriel goes to ground. Johnny Evans is standing there and does not get impeded at all on that goal. So
I don't know what Ten Hag is saying on those remarks. He's trying
Dutch
to find someone to blame
are
that isn't
smoking
himself.
something, and I want some of it. Him and Van Hal, I'm telling you. As far as United goes, I will say Christian Eriksen, Dalot, and Marcus Rashford all impressed, but I mean the rest of their squad did not for the majority of this game. I mean, I don't even know where to start.
I would say both fullbacks played well.
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka, especially on Martinelli, who was giving him a horrible time all game. He did very well. And then, I mean, you got Antony, Casemiro, Bruno, Martial. They all look terrible in this game.
Martial played?
He started.
I know.
For Arsenal, I mean, Ben White didn't look convincing at right back. He definitely let Marcus Rashford have his way with him. And Kai Havertz, disappointing yet again. Do you think he started after?
It's just he doesn't do anything, man. He doesn't offer much offensively. I was hoping maybe he could be able to get into some good positions at least to create chances. He does something defensively. I would say he does something. It's nothing magical or fantastic, but he does something. But his passing, man, he doesn't. It's all simple, small passes.
But even those, he still messes up. So, and there's a couple of them. He went to play the ball back to someone, and the person wasn't there anymore. Is it chemistry? Is he just not there yet? I don't know, but he's definitely not convincing. And
is he just a bad player at this point? Since we've been seeing it for how many years at Chelsea?
And now I would say he's more of a player who has the quality. He is just immensely struggling with confidence. He's zero. You can see it in the way he runs, or lack thereof. I think he probably needs a bit of time to adjust to, everybody else on the team. Starting is probably not the best answer right now. And I mean, with the way
he's going to start the next game, right?
Yeah, with the way Fabio Vieira has been playing, he has to start after the international break, right?
No.
I already did.
Should I think he? I think he should start. Yes, but I don't think Arteta will.
Well, the
start
thing
him.
is, I mean, maybe it's the way that Arteta kind of moved around some players and his substitutions, but Fabio Vieira, I mean, Arsenal was light years better after Havertz came off and Vieira came on than they were before.
Oh, I agree.
I mean,
but I don't think he's going to do that.
Arteta as well.
Arteta, that is.
Bringing on Reece Nelson. I thought we were both questioning that sub, and he looked fantastic. So, okay, on to the end of the game and everything that happened. I know we already talked about the offside shout by Ten Hag. I mean, what a finish by Garnacho, even though he was offsides. We were stressing out. This is like the 86th minute. 10 minutes of added time. And Declan Rice proving why he's worth $100 million. Even before scoring the game winner in the 96th, he had one hell of a game. Yeah. And then what a moment it was.
Defensively, yeah.
96. Yeah. What a time to have your first
goal for Arsenal, yeah. Winner against Manchester United.
Man. And then Gabriel Jesus on the break, getting the third one in the 101st minute, was it? Something crazy.
Something like that.
Fabio Vieira.
Assist from Fabio Vieira.
That one. Arsenal winning their first of a tough stretch of games. They're going to Everton after the international break, and they got Spurs, Bournemouth, City, and Chelsea. And as for Manchester United, after yet another poor performance, should the fans be worried, or is it too soon?
I'm curious to see how Højlund does. I want to see a couple games with him
in 11th.
Up top, leading that line. If things if things don't change after he's up there, yeah, I would. I mean, even if you look at all their games here, lucky to get that win against Wolves. Wolves should have had a PK. They lost to Spurs. They didn't play well against Forest, and probably also didn't deserve to win that game. So it's
I did read something on
troubling
ESPN.
few performances.
I did read something on ESPN
But I would
about
give
how
them
Manchester
2-3
United
more.
has entered their chaos era, which is why they're so fun to watch, because you literally never know what's going to happen when they're on the field. And if I'm a Manchester United fan, I think the stuff off the field worries me more than the stuff on the field right now. It's still early. They started like this last season, so they were fine. As far as Pickens go, I won 7-6, even though it didn't seem like it should have been that close. And we're tied for the season, both winning 1 and drawing 2. So looks like we're gonna have a much closer season than last season when you won like eight games before the end. We'll see.
It's still early, my friend. I'm sure I'll pull ahead. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this episode, and what a long one it was. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to check out all of our fun socials: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. And of course, check out the merch on Redbubble. On that note, we love you guys. Thank you so much. As always, cheers.